project management, unfortunately, we don't have anyone to sit at the C-suite and provide their stake in the decision making. So maximum, the best case scenario, what is happening, a project manager is talking to a program manager, and then a program manager is talking to the VPs separately and trying to convince and update on the risks or solutions, but never able to speak with other VPs, with CEOs being equal at C-suite. And that's why when the world is moving fast, we need the speed. We need the speed of bringing up risks to the CEO and the other C-suite people and provide the equal opinion, not just ask for permission.
Hello and welcome to another episode of PMP with Prachi. Our guest today is a powerhouse of transformation operating at the critical intersection where human intuition meets the machine intelligence. She is a senior agile coach and business consultant with 2 decades of experience reshaping delivery ecosystem for global organizations. From her early career days as an electrical engineer in Ukraine to becoming a master of business administration in Canada, her career spans continents and industries, including huge companies in Canada. Beyond the corporate world, she is the CEO of Be Agile and the founder of the PMO Strategy and Execution Hub, a global community of over 4,000 project professionals. Her expertise is highly regarded that she has served as a guest instructor at NASA, teaching conflict navigation and decision making in complex systems. Recognized as a member of Forbes Coaches Council and named a top 3 Canadian entrepreneurs. She is a sought after speaker who has graced over 100 stages worldwide. So, Aina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Prachi. Such an amazing introduction. And hello, everyone who's listening to us right now.
Thanks for joining. And let me begin by tell me about yourself, which I couldn't find it on LinkedIn.
That's a very tricky question because you already told a lot about me, but something what is not on LinkedIn that I've just started my pilot courses and I am aspired to be a pilot. We'll see if I will be able to complete it or not, but it's my goal for 2026. And a fun fact, which is not on LinkedIn either, is that I fall asleep right away if I drink a cup of coffee.
Wow. That's interesting. And a pilot. So do you do that in like recreational activity or have you done that before?
I had first like an intro flight few years ago back in Vancouver when I was living there. And I enjoyed the experience, but I am also afraid of heights. A year ago when I was in Fiji, I tried to fight my fear and I tried to jump into the ocean from just 7 meters height, which is nothing. When I tell the story, people are asking me like 70 meters. I'm like, no, not 70, 7 meters. And I wasn't able to do it until I was pushed with my permission and not just pushed on my own, but I was pushed and Safeguard was holding me. So he was pushing me and holding me and we were jumping together. And still, I have this fear. So when I got back to Canada, I thought that my mission is not accomplished. Yes, I did it with someone's help, but I want to do it alone. And that's when I got this idea that I should come back to my flight lessons and actually fight my fear completely, just accept my fear and continue living with it. So let's talk at the end of 2026. I will update you about the final results.
Wow, that's incredible. That's fascinating. In fact, that shows your resilience, right? In real life as well, not only corporate life. So, Aina, looking at your trajectory, it's incredibly impressive, right? So, you have been recognized as a top 3 Canadian entrepreneurs and selected for Forbes Coaches Council as well. You have also been an instructor at NASA. So many people see these achievements, but they don't see the climb behind them. So what were the most significant invisible hurdles you had to clear to reach this level of influence And what did that journey teach you about the resilience that you already have, and which textbook couldn't teach us?
Yeah, so 20 years ago, when I started my journey and was just a fresh grad from electrical engineering back in Ukraine, I wasn't resilient at all. Whatever problem I faced, I was like, okay, so probably there is no destiny for this. So probably I need to move on and try to look for something else. And also, I didn't have enough trust in myself because, again, you're just a fresh grad. How can you trust yourself? How can you know something about yourself? Because in my case, I was raised by parents. I stayed with my parents. And even when I was studying in university, I was still living with my parents. So, like, being influenced by my family and didn't know much about myself. But when I started building this journey slowly, I understood that resilience is a skill. It's not that you're naturally born with it. It depends on how many circumstances you face and if you don't give up. And obviously, immigration helped me a lot to build the resiliency because everything what could possibly go wrong with my immigration went wrong. And that's where I understood that whatever is happening to me, the end of this is only if I decide that this is the end. If the circumstances are against me and it looks like this is not going to be happening, my response to this, yes, it's not yet, but it doesn't mean it's the end. If I still want it, I will continue trying and not just blindly trying. Like, for example, I needed to pass IELTS, the International English exam, at the highest score to help with my immigration scoring. I did it 5 times, but I know people who did it more than 20 times and still couldn't reach the score. And why was this happening? Because they just continue doing it without lessons learned, just hoping for luck that this time the topic is going to be easier or this time my mood is going to be better. Any hopes they had. In my case, I was analyzing every single time when I didn't get the result I needed to. So every single time it was like a learning curve, and I was trying again and again. And I think on my fourth time, I've learned that you can get a maximum score for speaking if you actually argue with the instructor. I didn't know that. And nobody is teaching you that. Any course you attend or like any instructor you speak, they just keep encouraging you to use idioms, to use variety of phrases. But appears that if you feel comfortable to defend your opinion, and there is a third part of this test when they ask you like very controversial questions or like very opinionated questions, and if you feel comfortable to defend your opinion and say, no, it's not what I believe in, this is what I think about, and kind of continue definitely politely, not just like going blunt and argue, but politely disagreeing. This is what counts. Like if you feel comfortable doing that, it means your English is a very high level.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Wow. I'm planning to give my IELTS, and this is a great tip for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. You always learn something.
Yes. And as you mentioned, you were living with your parents, and even in India, we usually live with our parents like for many years. And it's really important for anybody who's living with their parents. That's not bad, but it's better, and you'll grow if you come outside of your comfort zone and you learn so much from the world. So many things changes, right? You learn so many small things and you just grow personally.
Yes, and you can continue living with your parents. There is nothing good and nothing wrong about it. It's your lifestyle. But if you face circumstances and solve it on your own, not let your parents continue solving them, even when you're an adult, that's where you grow and that's where you learn.
Yes, absolutely. And as an immigrant, I know it is so difficult. Anything like you, from applying to foreign abroad countries till you are there until you come to the country. And even after that, it's very difficult to have your ground because you're scratching from zero and you are building with no help at all.
Yes,
Yeah.
and as we already started this immigration topic, I also want to acknowledge when you move to a foreign country, it's very easy to lose trust in yourself, even if you had it before, because everything is new. and you're making way more mistakes every single day compared to the country where you were born. And because these mistakes are minor and you're the only one who is making it, it's easy to stop believing in yourself. For example, my first day in Canada, I took a bus and I couldn't leave the bus. It took me 3 more stops to figure out how to open the door because the system is totally different back in Ukraine.
Mhm.
An hour later, I entered an office and I was asked to turn on the lights, and I wasn't able to turn on the lights because, again, the system is very different in Ukraine. I wasn't able to understand how it works here. And another like hundreds or thousands mistakes like that every single day until you learn. So you eventually start thinking that I even cannot find the lights. So how can you trust me leading the team or leading the organization?
Yeah, it's not just the culture, but also these small things you learn every single day. Completely know what you're talking about, and I have felt the same way when I came here to the States. But yeah, at a certain point, you are used to it and you get involved with different cultures and the country. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So, I want to talk about, as I mentioned about the PMO, you have led the PMO strategy and execution hub, as I just mentioned in the intro, which has grown to over 4,000 members across 30 different countries. That's huge. Like across all those different cultures and industries, what is the one delivery pain point that seems to be absolutely universal?
What is international and universal is that when the problem appears, everyone is involved, but no one is accountable. And you probably faced it in the larger enterprises when something goes wrong. So it's the team level, but then your leadership is involved, their leadership is involved. Everybody's talking about the problem. Everybody's trying to understand what went wrong, but nobody is taking the accountability of the result. Not about the mistake, because sometimes, many times, there is even like no mistakes. It's a problem. It could be black swan, or it could be miscommunication, could be something. But okay, we are in this problem already. So let's take the ownership about who is going to be responsible about the end of the result of solving it. I don't mean that you have to solve it by yourself if you take the ownership, but you are the one who is monitoring and managing, scheduling the meetings, providing safe environment. That's what I mean by ownership. And you're the one who is kind of like supervising the result and then providing the green light for leadership or whatever role you have that this incident was solved. No, nobody's taking the accountability. But many people are involved, many people are reaching out, offering their help. But when it comes to the ownership, okay, you offered your help, so take the accountability. And no, it becomes kind of like teenagers' behavior. When teenagers are helping, but you're as a mom, you're an adult, you're responsible. And in the office, it's the same, but there is no mom, there is one responsible. And that's international.
And talking along the same lines, you have been major voice in the PMO space, and you have also co-authored the evolution of the PMO. And you have mentioned about the CPO. So, why do you believe modern organizations need a chief project officer now more than ever? And how does that role shift the focus from the governance to influence?
I believe that this role is crucial because nowadays strategy and execution need to go hand by hand, not separately. And it made sense in the past when strategy was separate and execution was separate because the world was more predictable, the world was slower. We were working on tangible projects, for example, construction projects. People have been doing constructions for years, or constructions like houses and bridges even for 1,000 years. In organizations like that, we definitely needed a strategy, but this strategy could be provided for the next 5 or so years. And then we just needed an execution team to run it and didn't need to align much strategy with execution because it was predictable. So we moved to intangible projects like IT projects, and how many years we've been doing them? 30, 40 years maximum. Like considering the lens of humanity, of civilization, 30 to 40 years, it's not a big term. And that's why there are still lots of learning here. But what's more, every single day, something new is happening. So it was AI revolution a few years ago. And now everybody's learning about AI and nobody knows where AI will bring us. What we know exactly is that it's not a fad. It's a new era of a new revolution. And that's why we need to connect strategy and execution, because to create 5-year strategy, it makes sense on the one hand, because we still need to think future towards. But on the other hand, it means we will need to revisit this strategy quite often in the next 5 years. And sometimes even every single day when new technology disrupts our world and organizations. And that's why strategy and execution need to go together hand by hand, because execution team can provide the first snapshot of what is happening and need to collaborate with strategy. So it's kind of like endless loop. Strategy tries to foresee the next 3 to 5 years. Execution provides the feedback and the loop continues going. Another point why we need a chief project officer, because we have a VP of marketing, right? We have a VP of operations. We have other VPs at the C-suite table, but we don't have anyone from project management. We have project manager, we have a portfolio, maybe program manager, but that's it. But these roles are not C-suite level roles. And in hierarchical organizations, your level is important. And people just simply don't respect your opinion because, for example, they are directors and you're not, you're a level lower, or they're VP and you're a director, so again, you're one level lower. And in project management, unfortunately, we don't have anyone to sit at C-suite and provide their stake in the decision making. So maximum, the best case scenario, what is happening, a project manager is talking to a program manager, and then a program manager is talking to the VPs separately and trying to convince and update on the risks or solutions, but never able to speak with other VPs, with CEOs being equal at C-suite. And that's why when the world is moving fast, we need the speed. We need the speed of bringing up risks to the CEO and the other C-suite people and provide the equal opinion, not just ask for permission.
Yes, absolutely. You brought a great point that we don't have a voice as a project program managers, and C-suite are not listening from bottoms down, like what's going on in real world or on the ground level. It's just all top down. And yeah, they need to hear from bottoms down too. That's good for the organization. And you mentioned about the construction and IT projects, and you rightly mentioned that IT projects are relatively very new, and that time only Agile or Scrum came in the picture, right? So how can a team now tell if they are just doing the agile ceremonies versus actually being agile by building a real rhythm?
Great question. And when I'm asked about this as a coach, I always ask 3 questions before answering this question. So when I come to the organization, even before starting working there, I ask, what problem are we solving? And most of the time, there is no answer to this because people heard about Agile. Everybody is moving to Agile. Everybody is doing Agile. And I emphasize on doing Agile. That's exactly what most people are doing. And the leaders who are not running Agile yet, they feel like, oh, I'm already behind. So I just need to catch up and I need Agile. But Agile is not a universal pill for all of the problems. Agile was created to solve specific problems. For example, customer feedback. If we do just pure waterfall, we code and then we test and then we deploy the entire feature to the market, it takes time and it depends on complexity. It might take months or it might take even years. And now the world is very speedy. So if our competitor launched something similar a month prior to us, it means our 6 or 7 months or whatsoever work is gone. So it's sunk cost because our competitor already did it and people subscribed to our competitors. That's why we needed to be fast. And we also needed feedback because, again, if we are delivering feature which takes 6 or 9 months to code and deploy, and then customers just simply don't like it. What was the point of delivering the feature? And I'm talking from the experience right now because for one of the organizations, we were delivering a calendar to book appointments with their clients. So we were doing it for the advisors. And when we delivered it, we got a comment from one of the advisors, why don't we just use Calendly? And I'm ready to pay for the subscription out of my own pocket. Just allow me to use Calendly instead of using your tool you launched. But it took at least 6 months to launch the tool. So, and the users don't like it at all. So what was the value? What was the purpose? And that is a question why Agile came to the place initially, to speed up this process, to speed up the feedback from your main customers, your main users. But now when everybody is kind of like trying to move to Agile, so what problem are you specifically solving in your organization? Do you even need Agile? Or maybe if you're like a governmental tangible organization and you're delivering tangible products and you don't really need customer feedback, do you even need Agile? Do you even need to disrupt what is already working well? I don't know. Okay, if we pass this question, we know why we need Agile. Another question I have, what risks are we facing right now? Because Agile is not solving all of the problems, not solving the risks, but it helps to uncover everything what was swept under the rug. So what risks are we facing? And the last question is how much autonomy and authority the teams have in your organization. So if there is not much autonomy or authority, again, you will be just doing Agile, not being Agile.
Yeah, and talking about Agile, having designed operating models for several major firms, you have seen how one size fits all framework always fails. So, what is your personal process for the right size Agile so it supports a team's maturity rather than just being a rigid set of rules of Agile?
It's a very challenging question, honestly speaking. So, first of all, we need to have clarity because if we don't have clarity, it's hard to make any decision and it's hard to be agile. Because clarity always beats the consensus. And again, if there is clarity, there is ownership, or we understand what kind of gray zones we tried to avoid. So, as I said, what was swept under the rug, that's what we uncover first by doing multiple workshops, collaborating with multiple stakeholders. And when it's clear, another important issue is, I would say, the right metrics. Because people like measuring everything, but do we measure the right things? Do we just micromanage and providing beautiful PowerPoints and beautiful results at the end? Or are we actually tracking what's important? So, as I already started talking about metrics, I will probably explain what I mean by that, what metrics I track in my Agile teams. So we like tracking velocity in Agile, but many leaders confuse team velocity to forecast the end result or velocity without outcomes. That's what I continue facing in multiple organizations. Or the worst case when you compare velocity like one team and another. And one team has 3 developers, another team has 1 developer, and the third team has 5 developers. And when leaders compare like why this team delivers 45 points and another team delivers 90 points, and every time you need to explain that, no, it's not what we are measuring here and trying to predict. Also, many like measuring predictability, but if we are predictable, it means we stop learning. And it might work for some period of time, but when again the black swan comes, there was no learning for a while, so we just face chaos. So instead of just focusing on predictability, also measure what lessons we learned and how many lessons we've learned for like certain periods of time.
Yeah, so talking about matrix, what do you think? What are the danger matrix you often see companies tracking that actually ends up hurting their agility? Is it?
Dangerous metrics.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I would say any micromanaging metrics. I would call them dangerous. For example, tracking when the person logged in and when the person logged out, how many hours the person has been working during per day. Yes, it's important if we agreed if our contract is working 8 hours per day, but some people, if they want to cheat, they will cheat no matter what you do. If you go on TikTok, you will see incredible devices people are creating to cheat. And so it means, yes, you're micromanaging the person's time, but instead of working and using this time for produce value for your organization, the person is thinking how to cheat on you. And because it's a personal motivation, they will cheat. Sooner or later, they will cheat. They're definitely not motivated to produce value for you. They are motivated to create how to escape the work you're assigning for them.
And yeah, it circles back to agile. Like you don't micromanage, you give the team the opportunity to grow and you coach them instead of saying, what are you doing? Like
Yeah.
how to do
I
it, what
expect
to
the
do it.
detailed reports from you, what you've been doing during the last 8 hours or during the last week. So, what have you been doing from 1 to 2 p.m., for example?
Yeah,
No, that's too much. It's micromanaging.
correct.
There might be a valid question here, but what if the person doesn't work? I worked with employees like that. If they really cheat, if you provide them authority, autonomy, don't track their time, and especially if it's work from home, they will just, I don't know, do their laundry or do any other tasks and don't provide value. But if you're close with a team and if your team is close with each other, it's seen. You
Yeah.
know more or less how much work the person can provide per day or per week. Okay, the person might be in a bad mood or I don't know, something personal had happened. So we are not focusing on like certain days. But when you see the pattern that the person didn't deliver what they can by skills during the first week, okay, kind of like a red flag. In my case, I don't alarm anyone, but I keep monitoring. And then the second week, and then the third week, and if you see the constant pattern, that's where you alarm. Not when you micromanage the person and ask this detailed reports on what you've been doing, but if people work with each other closely, they just see it. And I think you and I, we are high level performers. So we prefer to deliver and we kind of want our team to look and nice and perform. And if you see someone next to us who is not performing, so we are alarming other teammates or our managers, and we're trying to solve this issue. So, what again, to reiterate, you don't have to micromanage it, it is seen by itself.
Yeah, and I've often observed, and I think I've read somewhere that if you have 10 team members, only 50% of them are actually uh, contributing to uh, the goal, and that is so uh, sad to hear that a majority of the work is done by half of the people, but then credit goes to all. That's fine, but then uh, it's not fair, right? For the people
Yes.
who are putting those efforts.
And I remember at least 4 or 5 times when I worked with 20 to 25 people in one team. And it was almost 100% case that half of the team delivered the results and the other half of the team was just masking behind them. Definitely, it's unfair and it's unproductive. So again, where Agile comes to the place, Agile offers to have pizza size teams, meaning that if you buy a pizza, so you can divide it into this a certain number of people, which means the best number is between 6 to 10. Sometimes, yes, if you have 12 people, you still can divide this pizza between 12 people, but the pieces are smaller. But if you have, like, let's say, 10 people in your team, the optimal number, they cannot hide behind each other. So if you have 10 people, there is a one scrum master, one product owner, at least one business analyst. And so it means the other 7 people are developers and testers. So let's say we have another 3 developers or like 4 developers and another 2 testers. So yes, it's still easy to mask your lack of skills or lack of enthusiasm for a while. But even if you have 4 developers in the team, sooner or later you will see that three people are performing and one person is not performing, or the opposite, two people are performing and two people are not performing, and it's already alarming. And you can raise this alarm way sooner than when you have 25 people.
Yes, absolutely. So, to wrap up, I would like to ask the last question. Your expertise has been has even taken you into the realm of aerospace, where you have delivered guest session, as I just mentioned in our intro, for NASA on conflict and decision making in complex systems. Is there a specific lessons from that high stakes environment that you think every corporate leader should adopt?
So I was delivering a few webinars there, and what I've learned that you have to learn how to navigate conflicts way sooner in this high stake environment. If the environment is not high stake, yes, you can survive without being a great conflict navigator. But if the decisions are high, the cost of mistake costs a lot for the team, for the organization, and sometimes even for yourself. If you work for projects like NASA or any other equivalent organization, and if people are silently conflicting with each other, the conflict arises sooner or later. And it's better that you can figure out it sooner so you can do the preventive actions. And what I've learned personally for myself, like I believe that I'm a good conflict navigator, but I was navigating it when the conflict was already happening. What I've learned that I need to create an artificial conflict before the real conflict appears in the organizations like that. Why? To see how people behave when they're conflicting. And right now, when definitely nobody knows that it's artificial, that it's just my evil plan of doing it, there is no high stake. So you can learn, you can experiment, and you can pivot. But if you don't know your peers, if you don't know how people react, and if the real conflict just had happened, it's no time to pivot. It's no time to solve it. So you just have to deal with that. And I will give you an example. Like I created an artificial conflict when a person was 1 hour late for a meeting without letting the team know. Yes, kind of like a big deal, but not really a big deal globally speaking. So we could just ask them what had happened and please don't be late next time. And that's it. Like most people wouldn't create a conflict on this topic. I decided why not to see and explore how everybody is going to behave under this artificial situation. So I started being maybe a little bit more aggressive that I normally am, and kind of like talking about my feelings and that it was a disrespect for like me and for the team. We've been waiting for you and you were one of the crucial people for this meeting. We couldn't proceed without your opinion. So now we will need to reschedule the meeting. So please be respectful next time. And it's interesting that this person been always logical, respectful, provided so much knowledge, value, and at the same time was always so calm. And his behavior switched like that. So he started being really defensive and just started arguing with me and trying to win the argument, not to get to the conclusion, kind of like, I don't know, apologize and having the team agreement for a future, kind of like accepting maybe that he was wrong. No, I understood the personalities that for him, like whatever feedback you are providing, it's kind of like a personal attack. And he believes that if he explains without accepting that he was wrong, it means that he wants the situation and the situation resolved by itself. And I'm like, okay, I've learned something new about my peer. Okay, this situation doesn't really matter, but it showed me a lot how the person is going to behave in real situation. And it also gave me lots of data and lots of lessons learned to think how we are going to behave in a real conflict. Because at work, sooner or later, the real conflict is going to appear. So should we bring the third party and kind of like work together on this like defensiveness? And also on my part, kind of like retrospect, maybe I did something wrong in this artificial fight. So that was my biggest lesson learned. And now I use it in all of the high stake organizations I start working on to create the conflict sooner than later. And you probably know the team formation phase from forming, storming, and then norming, and then performing. And you know that norming phase takes like few months, especially when people don't know each other, because you kind of like try to observe each other. If something is wrong, you want to be nice because it's just the beginning of your like working together, and then you kind of like accumulate what was wrong in the behavior of other teammates, and then like 3 months later, it's storming phase because there were patterns what people didn't address initially. Now they just like letting out everything they've experienced during the last 3 months. The person is like, but why nobody told me about that during the last 3 months? And why are you telling me right now? So the conflict is escalated even higher than it's supposed to be. So that's why I start kind of like slowly bringing storming phase when we are just in the first months of team formation.
You brought such a different perspective, interesting perspective. It's like reverse psychology
Yes.
at a very beginning, and that's quite interesting. And I think even all the leaders should at least try it once in the initiation phase so that you know the actual team members personality. So yeah, it brings up the personality, and this is a really different perspective which I haven't heard of before, and I'm going to try that.
Yeah, and just to emphasize why we are bringing these different personalities, because when the real conflict happens, you will know how to talk, how to behave, and how to react, and you will know how they will react. So it will be way easier for you to navigate the conflict when you already know personalities, rather than navigate it and learn about different personalities when the actual conflict is already here, or when the actual problem or disaster is actually here, and you need to focus on the disaster, but at the same time, you also need to solve the conflict.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that was a great session. Before we wrap up, I have a rapid fire round. Quick rapid fire round, just in 1 or 2 words. Okay. So, agility in 1 word.
Flexibility.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of complex system?
Chaos.
All right. Besides your own best-selling book, what is one book every aspiring CPO, that is the Chief Project Officer, should read?
One book is very hard, but I would probably piggyback to the conflict and negotiation and would say Get Into Yes or any other negotiation related books.
Okay. If you have any books in mind, let me know. I'll put that in the comment section below so people can read it. And the last one, in 10 seconds or less, why is an excuse the enemy of growth?
So challenging, because if you look for excuses, you stop yourself from getting an experience. And if you don't get an experience, you don't grow.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Aina, it was been an absolute privilege from your journey as an engineer in Ukraine to becoming a global voice on the Forbes Coaches Council. You have shown that transformation isn't just about software frameworks. It's about the human signal and the courage to act without excuses. For our listeners who want to join the 4,000 plus members community at the PMO Strategy and Execution Hub or work with the Be Agile, what is the best way for them to connect with you and continue this conversation?
The best way is to connect with me on LinkedIn, Aina Alive, and Aliva. I go with my full legal name because that's how recruiters are looking for me. And Alive is my scenic name because it's challenging for most people to pronounce my full name. So, Prachi, I think you will post my credentials on your podcast. So, LinkedIn is the best way, and then we can continue collaboration.
Okay, perfect. And to our listeners, remember strategy and execution are two sides of the same coin. Until next time, keep building rhythm, not just the rituals. Aina, thank you again for being with us.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Pressure. It's a pleasure for me. And talk soon, everybody.
Yeah.